biggest thing we did to instructional design, because instructional design became systemic thanks to that melting pot, that integration with military
core praxis.
Okay friends, welcome back. Before you watch this video because it covers a lot of the basics. But today in this video, we're going to get at it quick. We're going to talk about ADDIE. And ADDIE in the perspective of the myths, all the myths, the educational myths that we have out there for ADDIE. Why is it a myth? Why is it not? And also, then how does that apply to the work that you do? Because we just got to keep it simple, but not so simple that it loses essence, right? So let's start with a couple of notions. There's a lot of fashion and a lot of things, a lot of trendy things that are happening in this industry. Every year there's something new. Every year there's a new approach. If L&D was a scientific research field, it would be the most prolific and the most amazing field ever, because every year something new is achieved. But in reality is that the essence and the foundations, the foundational pieces of instructional design have not changed. They're still the same. The only thing that has changed is technology. And the biggest challenge that we have as instructional designers is then battling the notion, but we can't battle something if we're part of it. So that's the biggest problem that we're having. So if you go and get an education, higher ed, and you follow that process, well, that process was created back in the 1900s for you to be conditioned to work, right? Think about it. Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, you got to be somewhere. We are conditioned to do that. Be somewhere, listen to someone, listen to the boss, right? That's the teacher. Of course, many different things are now different. Of course, hopefully some things have changed, but the foundational stuff hasn't changed. You come out of high school, then you go to college, same situation. And so from that perspective, if you were trained classically, well, if you were trained in a educational setting, you learn the same things I learned in a master's degree. You learn adult learning theory, and you learn maybe macro-knowledge, and you learn some other things. And if you did instructional design, it depends on what program you go to, because there might be programs that just teach you stuff that is related to schools, right? So there is an academic notion of instructional design. There is the systemic portion of that started in the 70s. So that's the part we have to keep in mind. And interesting enough, when I run my podcast, the Style of Origins podcast, link in comments, link in description. When I run that podcast, I found things that I haven't heard any educational program talk about. So when it comes to ADDIE, ADDIE comes to light in 1973, published in 1975. And the biggest thing about ADDIE is that ADDIE was never set as a model that was officially recorded in academia, per se. There is, however, a military instruction. There is a military document of a contract. This the one that I showed before in the video before. That contract, that summary report, it has everything that we should know about ADDIE. So there you have it. ADDIE is not a model as is portrayed to be. It is a model that came from the military, from an engineering perspective. And that's probably the biggest thing that we did to instructional design, because instructional design became systemic thanks to that melting pot, that integration with military sophistication and jobs. Gagne in the background, for example, Robert Gagne, which wasn't included in the paper, but I know from Mr. Robert Branson that he was involved.
From people like Bob Gagne and many others to step by step lay out how the Army instructors should go about preparing instruction.
That's the essence of it. So what do you do with that today? Well, there are some interesting things to do with it, and I hope that you can see the value on those steps, on those specific steps, and that is something that you can adapt in your practice, because anything else is just a vendor promoting their own idea. It's not based on research. It's not based on, and I mean in research, when you think of research, what research really applies to corporate training? No one is getting access to a company's internal stuff and looking exactly at what it is. All there is surveys. All there is qualitative stuff. And sometimes it's just companies participating in a network that are getting sort of like a kickback for it, right? Like, oh yeah, we'll comment here, and that happens. So, I mean, keep your mind open, all right? And be inquisitive, keep learning, and make sure you like, subscribe this video, like, subscribe to this channel as well, and hit the notification bell. And, well, I'll see you more. This is not going to stop. Trust me.